welcome back to our Mental Health Monday series. My name is Melanie, and today we are going to be talking about parenting preteens and teenagers. So when it comes to parenting teens and preteens, the number one thing that we really have to be mindful of is the fact that their brains are still developing. So it takes till you're about 25, 26 years of age, research has shown, before your brain fully develops. And so preteens and teens aren't fully there yet. So it's really important to remember that their brains are still very much in the works. They're learning. It's a very delicate time for this age group. They also have hormones that are changing, shifting, developing. That's another layer. And their emotions are just really complex at this age. So if we're going to talk about parenting this age group, we really have to go in with the mindset of, they're in a very delicate age group and they're very much becoming who they are as people. Now, what are some of the challenges that we see with parenting preteens and teens? So number one, given where we are as a society today, is definitely social media. It is really, really challenging to parent this age group when there are so many different forms of social media. So how do we approach this as caregivers and parents? Really being aware of what it is that your kids have access to and balancing that with giving them age-appropriate trust levels. So a perfect example of this would be when you introduce a cell phone to your child, no matter what age you choose to do it, making sure that there's a way that you can access and monitor what your child is able to see. And a really great example of a way to do this and have that conversation with your kid is to say, hey, you're going to have this new responsibility. It's a big one. And along with this, initially comes a little bit of me monitoring, because you're going to be exposed to some things for the first time, and that's going to lead to us needing to have a conversation. So again, framing it as though it's to build trust, keep the preteen or teen safe, versus it being, I'm going to install this app so that I can watch every single thing that you do. It really matters how you frame your wording to this age group so that they don't immediately become resistant or hesitant. But again, it's really important that when you introduce this responsibility to your preteen or teenager, that it is monitored, because they are going to have access to a lot all at once. And that can really be a lot for a developing mind. When it comes to phones, it's really, really challenging, because we do now know that if kids spend a lot of times on these electronics and they kind of develop like these addictions, that it can really not be good for them. Symptomatically, it can lead to increased anxiety, heart palpitations, feeling on edge. And that's not something that we want to see when their minds are, again, young and developing. And so what we sometimes see happen here is, primarily this happens in schools, is we will see teachers or administration try and set boundaries or rules and say, hey, no phones in class. We don't want the kids to have access to their phones, because sometimes, they're not always used with the best intentions. It takes away from learning. But then the caregivers and the parents start to get upset because they don't have that 24 access to their preteen or teen. I understand that mindset, especially in American culture, but we have to be very mindful as parents to not hand off that secondhand anxiety onto our children. They really do deserve and their brains need to take breaks away from technology. So again, just monitoring how much phone time is also really, really important. It's content and it's a length of exposure that matter. Bullying is another tough one. And again, that ties back into the social media and the phone use. Kids nowadays, if there's an incident, it's recorded, it's spread around the whole school, and all of a sudden, we've got people who emotionally are just handling something that's gotten really out of control. And again, their brains are still developing. That's going to be really hard for them to process and understand. So talking to your kids about how to manage their own stressors, what to do if they feel like they're being bullied. If you have kids who are preteens, teenagers, and they are in school, please make sure that you have a copy of your school's bullying like guidelines, rules, whatever it is that they have to say about bullying and how it's managed and handled in their school so that you have this self-awareness as a parent or caregiver. Social pressure to parent a certain way when you have teens or preteens. So we see this happen a lot where parents really struggle with, well, do I let my kid have this experience, do this thing when I look around and other kids their age are having the experience or maybe are not having the experience? I always say in that situation that you know the child best. And so you kind of have to assess on a case-by-case basis whether or not you feel like it's something that they are emotionally mature enough to handle. Will they be safe? There's a lot of factors to take into it, but don't let perceived societal norms take over your reins of parenting. At the end of the day, you have to make the decision for your preteens and teenagers. So even if the rest of society is letting their kid do something, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to allow your child to have that same access to whatever it is. So don't be afraid to set limitations, even if it feels like you're pushing back against the grain. What can we do when parenting preteens and teens to start to move in a healthier direction? Monitor and build trust kind of go hand in hand. So again, it really goes back to when you start to add on responsibilities, making sure that they are monitored and having the conversations as the issues arise. Some of them are going to be uncomfortable. Preteens and teens make sometimes irrational decisions. Sometimes they make decisions without thinking about consequences. So it's really about balancing, monitoring what they do, and simultaneously building trust so that your preteens and teens feel like they can come to you when they do go through age-appropriate struggles and challenges. So again, when it comes to parenting this age group, walk with grace. Remind yourself again that these are small brains that are still in development. We are up against a whole slew of different challenges with social media. So just really keep an eye on things and keep talking to your kids. Thank you so much, and I will see you next week for our next Mental Health Monday video.